Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Press Pros Huddle Show. I'm Bruce Hooley, and that is Sonny Folks right there. And we are excited tonight because we're going to welcome Ohio State baseball coach Bill Mosiello to the show very, very shortly.
First of all, what happened to the lead music? What happened?
You have a puzzled look on your face, Mr.
Yeah, what happened to
That's the look you get when you hit the button and nothing happens. I can try to hit the intro again if you'd like for me to. Now that we've said hello to the folks, I think it's kind of extraneous and unnecessary, but
that might be.
If you would like for me to hit it, I can. If you want to impress the coach while he watches in the waiting room, it's totally up to you. It's your show, my friend.
No. Forget I brought it up.
All right, I will forget that you brought it up, but you will not forget, nor will most of our fans forget, that this is the first Friday of MAC football, the league that churns out state champions. Like politics churns out controversy, we have league games this Friday. And we were wondering after week one if you guys understood that, hey, high school football season has started. And from our numbers in week two, the answer to that is a resounding yes. You are aware high school football season has started. And we're very happy that you guys were all over the site this weekend. We had 5 games covered. We'll be talking about some of the games we're going to cover this week. But the MAC is ready to start league play. And we'll have Minster at Marion Local, New Bremen at Parkway, Coldwater at Fort Recovery, St. Henry at Anna, Delphus St. John at Versailles, and oh, by the way, the longest running rivalry continuously played in the state of Ohio in high school football, Troy versus Piqua, will also be contested this Friday night.
It's amazing. They've played 100 times, and I think they're within a game of each other being even. I think there've been a couple of ties, but it's like 50 and 49 and 2 or something ridiculous like that. How do you sustain that kind of continuity and competition for 100 years and be that close after that period of time? But the neat thing about that game, and I think Bill Neese would tell you, Steve Nolan would tell you, anybody who's ever coached those two teams, it doesn't matter what the record is. They could be 0-9 and you could get out of there. You'd be lucky to get out with your life if you go in there expecting to win and win easy. So you don't take anything for granted. I just hope it's great weather. I hope it's a good crowd. It's a lot of fun. And Piqua right now is off to a resounding start after 2 weeks. 113 points scored.
Woo.
Zip allowed. 113 to nothing after 2 weeks.
That's pretty impressive because we thought Piqua might have some holes to fill after getting a deeper playoff run last year, but that's not been the case. Brady Ewell's getting it done on offense, and Sam Schmeezing is getting it done on defense. And Troy got spanked on Friday night by Xenia. Xenia is one of the better teams in that league, and they've got some couple D1 players, I think, on their squad, starting with their running back who had a nice night. So Trojans will be licking their wound, but you're right. I'm hearkening back to I think it was the first Troy Piqua game that I covered, which would have been in 1980-ish something. And Troy was on its way to an undefeated season and a state playoff berth in Steve Nolan's first or second year. And they played at Piqua, and it came down to the wire. And Aaron Johnson, the Troy quarterback, who recently coached at Troy Christian High School, completed a pass to sustain a drive and keep the ball out of Piqua's hands. So I remember doing a special section on the 100th game in that rivalry. I think they're up now to 130 or something like that. And so it will be a lot of pageantry and a lot of pride on the line. And I assume, where is this one played? Is it played at Piqua?
It's at Piqua. Yeah,
okay.
At Piqua.
Very good. All right. Well, let's just recap quickly what happened on Friday night. I was at Coldwater Bell Fountain. Coldwater has found its quarterback. You might think, wait a minute, didn't this kid graduate? Didn't Marcel Blasingame graduate? No, that was his brother Miles Blasingame, who 2 years ago looked very Marcel Blasingame-ish for Coldwater all season long. He carried the ball most of the time on offense, and he made a lot of big throws, but he had a lot of wide receivers who were experienced back then. He had Tyler Muhlenkamp, he had Jesse Meyer, he had Schwederman. He had a lot of talented players out there, including his brother, who was a sophomore. Now his brother's a senior, and he's playing quarterback. And he put up a sparkling little 453-yard total offense night against the Bell Fountain Chieftains and the much more highly touted Tavian St. Clair at quarterback. As I texted you during the game, Mr. Folks, Tavian St. Clair might yet be a 5-star quarterback, but on that night in Bell Fountain, Marcel Blasingame was a 7-star.
I'm reminded when people talk about football teams in June and July, not to get too worked up about it until it actually gets to September, because that's a game that, and I talked about it or wrote about it the week before, where there is so much, I think, early season expectation for Bell Fountain simply because of Tavy and St. Clair. You don't get offers as a sophomore from Louisville and Pitt and teams like North
Florida
Carolina
and
State,
Tennessee.
Iowa State, Tennessee, and places like that, unless you're the real deal. You don't even get recognized unless you're the real deal. And they're not going to have somebody like that without somebody to go run and catch it. So you figure when you put two and two together like that, they're going to be very good. There's a team of expectation, playoff bound, and then, but again, they hadn't played Coldwater. They hadn't played a Marion local. They hadn't played a team like that can sit at home and say, well, you know what, you're going to have to show us you can beat our four linebackers and our two safeties and our front four rush is going to give you something to think about that you haven't thought about before. And that's what happened on Friday night. Coldwater is such a good team for the fact that Marcel Blassingame had a great game, because that's a team where they preach, hey, everybody, you just do your job. You four guys in front, center, tackle to tackle, center and guards, do your job and let him do his. An excellent job, an excellent team of getting people in space, making plays downfield. The running backs run hard. They pursue on defense the ball, and like many teams, almost any team that you can mention or compare them to. So there wasn't a lot expected of them. No one complained about it in Coldwater. Like I said, hey, we're not getting any attention. They just come out and play the first 2 weeks, and they put up a number last week that surprised a lot of people. I know it didn't surprise us because we picked, Coldwater to win. But remember, last year in week 2, they went to Cincinnati and played a Division I team. I think it was Oak Hill in Division I in Cincinnati, and won that game like 14-10. A Division VI playing a Division I team on the road in Cincinnati, hostile environment, everything that goes with playing on the road, came back and won 14-10. So you never take teams like Coldwater or Marion Local or Pickwick for that matter this year. And I think we're going to see a couple more teams develop that kind of reputation. Milton Union, for instance, over the next couple of weeks. This is as in a way, the first 4 weeks are as exciting as the last 4 weeks, because you want to see some of this talent that you've heard about, see if it's the real deal. Yeah, I know what you said in June. Tell me what you think now in September.
Yeah, Milton Union got a big win on the road at Valley View, and then the game that you had was Fort Loramie at Versailles, and we thought Versailles would be pretty good because Ryan Jones is now in his 4th year, coming off a state championship. Got a lot of guys hungry to defend that title, and they pulled one out against Loramie. I actually came out of that game more impressed with Loramie that they could hang with Versailles at home. Give me a quick recap of that one, and then we'll get to Ohio State head baseball coach Bill Mosiello.
Loramie jumped up 14-0, kicked off after their second touchdown, and Versailles fumbled the ball on the 45-yard line. It was a squib kick, and they fumbled. Loramie got the ball. For all the world, it looked like they were going to go in for the touchdown and go up 21-0. And had they done that, that might have been game, set, match right there, because they had Versailles on their heels. They were reeling at that point, but they didn't score. They tried a field goal, missed it. Versailles got the ball back. They're in a position to go down the field. They ultimately score in the second quarter, and then got a score about a minute and a half before halftime on a tremendous pick six, where the defensive end, that being Stonebreaker, Connor Stonebreaker, who's 6'8" and plays quarterback as well as defensive end, jumped up, took a screen pass, batted it in the air, waited for it to come down, ran 37 yards for a touchdown. That took a lot of life out of Fort Loramie at that point. In fact, they come up, Versailles scores, goes ahead. Loramie comes back, has chances, a couple of chances in the last 5 minutes inside the 20-yard line to punch it in at 26-21 and go ahead. Couldn't do it. Versailles defense got stiffened and played well down the stretch. Very exciting game, but a game that Loramie felt, and I know they felt when they got on the bus and went back to Shelby County, that's a game we could have won. Good learning experience. Spencer Wells said, we'll take something out of this and get ready for next week. And so people got their money's worth. Two very good football teams that are going to be playoff bound. No question about that.
All right, we'll talk more about the games that are in our rearview mirror and the games that are ahead, but we promised you guys we would have Ohio State head baseball coach Bill Mosiello with us at 8:10, and we're right on that time. So let's bring in the coach and thank him for his time tonight. Coach, welcome to Columbus. You just passed your 2-month mark as Ohio State's head baseball coach. So how do you feel 2 months into the job in terms of the things that you had on your list that you wanted to get accomplished and what you've actually been able to check off?
Well, I don't know if I've checked off any, to tell you the truth, but it's been awesome. It's been a tough 2 months, but it's, no one said it was going to be easy. It's not supposed to be easy. The last 2 weeks since I got to be settled in and know that I'm in my office every day and get to see the coaching staff every day and get to see, most importantly, see the players every day. So now it's back to like, hey, this is the way it's supposed to be, and I'm starting to get my feet on the ground, and we're just blessed to be here.
Coach, there's a lot of people. Welcome to the show, by the way, and thank you for your time. It's a delight to have you on, and I'm certainly anxious to pose some questions that I reached out this week, and I said, hey, the coach is coming on. I know you guys are big Buckeye fans. You come to Bill Davis a lot. You follow the team on Press Pros as we write that throughout the course of the season. What would you like to hear him talk about tonight? And I'm going to bring up something that a couple of people mentioned to me, and that was when I was at the press conference in June when you were announced. You made a statement there that I think a lot of people were delighted to hear when you said we're going to make Ohio State a national power in baseball, not just a Big Ten power, not just a power in the state of Ohio. We're already the Mount Rushmore in Ohio, but we want to go out and do it nationally and prove that the brand is good across the board in all states. I think, or in all sports. I think a lot of people would be interested to know, now that you've said that, what do you need to do to make it happen?
Just attack every day. Just one day at a time, and just do what we do, and, not look too far ahead, and look at tomorrow's workouts, and just keep it as simple as possible. Obviously those are strong words. That's just talk. I've apologized to the coaching staff that I've, said a lot. I got an amazing staff with me that they don't say a whole lot. They just let their actions speak for them, and I'm the one doing all the talking. So I told them I apologize. I apologize for being so, brash, and I do believe it still, and they believe it. I believe, they have track records. We've all came from incredible programs. So that's the expectations. They came here just like I did. Now the key is convincing the players that, that we wake up every day thinking about championships, and so much easier said than done, but that's got to be the mindset. First, you have to change the way you think before it can have any of these things come to fruition.
I think the second question people would like to know is, since that press conference, what have you done the last 60 days to kind of put yourself in a position of assessment? But because before you bring anybody new in, or somebody that you feel like is better than you have, how much time have you had, and how have you assessed last year's team and last year's numbers, and what you want to build on, or what you have to build on from that team going forward to 2023?
Yeah, I've done zero assessment. You're always going to need really good players, so you're going on. I'm just worried about getting our next group, but most importantly, I'm worried about developing the players we have in the program. So, we're not recruiting at a level to where we're bringing in 100 guys. We're bringing in 2, 3, 4, 5 guys, and just attacking that. I've got a million recruiting calls every single night from classes from 26, 25, 24, 23s. We still have some room for a couple 23 players if they're special players. And one of the things that we've done, what I'm most proud of our staff, is we didn't get caught up in just trying to bring in players. Like we're looking for the right players, so we weren't trying to get everybody excited and say, hey, they brought in 12, they brought in 13 new players. We don't count how many players we bring in. We're making sure that whoever we get are the right type of players. And I think it's super important when you're recruiting, is you don't worry about the players you didn't get. You just make sure the players that you have coming in your program that are the right guys and that are the right fits. And basically that's what we're doing. We've got a big, huge recruiting weekend coming, with the Notre Dame football game. And we got some recruits coming in. We can't wait to have them on campus. And, and they're from all over the country. So just like the plan was a national brand, it doesn't get any better than coming to watch us play Notre Dame. And that's part of the reason. That was the allure that got me excited. And I always harken back to, man, if it gets me really excited, I can imagine what a 16 to 18-year-old high school kid, Bill
Mosiello is the head coach of the baseball team at Ohio State. He's joining us here on the Press Pros Magazine Monday Huddle. As I look through the team last year, there's just a lot of things tactically that good teams don't do. You had a lot of walks and very few double plays. How many of those things can be corrected by coaching guys you have, and how much of that has to be corrected by bringing in new people to do what the team was unable to do a year ago?
Yeah, we don't have a choice. If we want to play winning baseball, all that has to change. And again, see, I looked at enough when I was assigned to take the job in the first 2 weeks. But after I took the job, I'm not worried about the past. Like, it's there when you lose games and you have losing seasons, it all goes wrong. You know, obviously from a number standpoint, the only thing that was decent was, the team played pretty decent offense. It still only scored a little over 6 runs a game, and my goals were always to score 8 or 9, and obviously gave up way too many. And it goes hand in hand. It played horrible defense and didn't pitch real well. And the old adage that all you're trying to get your pitchers to do is throw strikes and then play defense behind them. Well, I don't think the pitchers were too excited to throw strikes last year because they couldn't play defense behind them. So it's hard for me to put all of it on the pitchers when you didn't play defense behind them, So, the numbers are so mind-boggling to me. Like, I could not imagine being with a team that had those kind of defensive numbers or pitching numbers, you know what I mean? And there's no chance I could have lasted 36 years if I was ever on teams that did that. But it's going to be so much easier said than done. Like, we're just attacking every day, and we're not looking backwards. We're looking forward. And, my goal is not to beat these guys up and talk about the past. And, but every time I see us not make a play defensively during our drills and things, I'm saying to myself, geez, no wonder you fielded 951 last year, So, and I got to stay away from that. I got to be positive and just keep fighting. And, so that's just, like I said, I'm just staying away from the past, worrying about the future, attacking every single day, developing these guys. I'm really blessed. These are some really great kids. Like I had a feeling they were, and I got to meet some of them this summer, but they're even better than I thought. The old staff did a good job. We have some nice players. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what kind of winning baseball we can play yet, but they're really good kids. And there's some talented kids, and that's all you can ask for. And I've been so excited, and I'm hoping as this thing, as we go to work every single day and we get into the season, I can't wait to praise the last staff for the kind of kids they brought in. I'm just looking forward to it. I would love to have to say that after every interview I have, man. Thank goodness for giving me some of these great kids. A few of them, they shouldn't be in college baseball anymore. They're too talented to be in college baseball. We have a couple seniors that when I watch them hit and do the drills with them, I'm thinking to myself, man, these kind of guys aren't supposed to be in college. They have some unique ability and some good gifts. So that really makes me excited. So I definitely haven't been a guy that sees the players and go, oh, geez, you guys left me with a bunch of bad players. No, we have some great kids that I believe have a chance to be really nice players.
Ohio State baseball coach Bill Mosiello is our guest tonight on the Monday Huddle. And, Coach, I'm going to get to you. I know, because you and I have been together several times since you took the job, and I know how much time and how many miles you've logged out recruiting and looking for talent and looking for that special player that you just mentioned. But I know there's a number of people from around the state who would be interested in this answer from you as to what the state of the union of Ohio high school baseball is in 88 counties of Ohio, because it's always been a sensitive thing, where high school coaches always believe that their brand is the best and their dog smells better than anyone else's. So take a minute to tell us what you've learned about Ohio high school baseball and building that recruiting relationship with these coaches across the state, and how important that is. That is your lifeblood.
It's everything, you know what I mean? And again, there are a lot of really good players. There are a lot of fantastic coaches. I'm so excited because we've had so many high school coaches in Ohio reach out to us and really want to help us. Now, part of this thing for us is we don't know them really well. And when they tell you something, how much do you trust them? And just because it's a really good player for him, is he a really good player to win a Big Ten championship to play in Omaha? You know what I mean? So they have to build some of that trust with us. But there are players, and there are some good ones. We just had we had a 3-day camp. It was our inaugural Future Buckeye Camp. So we had about 60 kids come in from a lot of them from Ohio. We had a lot of out-of-state kids also. But the Ohio, that's who we are. That's why the brand of here, the kids growing up wanting to be a Buckeye. So, I heard so many of them told me, hey, this is where I want to be. Now the question is do we want you to be here? That's the deal. The problem isn't getting Ohio kids to commit to Ohio State. The problem is making sure they're the right players and they can win. So it's really tough. So we have to be really good at evaluating and picking the right guys. But yeah, I guess to answer your question, there's enough really good players in Ohio, but we have to keep them here. We got to make them want to be a part of our special program.
You just came here after 9 years at Texas Christian, and of course, I've written about and chronicled how many stops that you've had at Tennessee and at Oklahoma and Arizona State and Southern Cal and places like that as an assistant, plus 2 stints in the minors as manager in the Angels and the Yankees organization. Has that been any different the 9 previous years of picking the right kids out of a place like Texas over what it is in Ohio? Because, I think people assume that it is a better culture for baseball because of weather, the size of the communities, the size of the state. Is it a better compare the process from doing it in Texas at Texas Christian and now doing it at Ohio State?
Yeah, and we're still so new at it. Yeah, Texas has great players, but we recruited nationwide there at TCU because of the cost. It cost $68,000 to go there. So and a Texas or Texas Tech and Texas A&M were like $19,000 to $21,000. The allure of state colleges and the cost. That's also why it's so important that we get Ohio kids, because the cost isn't very high. And when we go out of state, then we have to give some money to the out of state players. I guess I would say more of the Ohio kids, maybe a little more crude, but there's a lot of athleticism and physical strength, which I like. Whereas maybe the players that I've had a lot of in Texas and things were not as physical, except for on the mound. And again, this baseball is about pitching, and obviously Texas is known for great power arms. So we were very fortunate. We didn't have to get the top pitchers in Texas to get us to Omaha. We could get just the good Texas pitchers that were good enough. And then Kirk Saros did an amazing job of developing them into high draft choices. And we had a couple of years where we had $3 million pitchers, on the same staff, and none of them were $1 million guys coming out of high school. So there was a plethora of arms in Texas, and maybe skill level as maybe the middle infielders, maybe there's a little better skill level because of the weather. But, I still like, the Ohio kid maybe is a little more crude, but they're great kids. They're going to learn quick, so that they're going to get better fast. Like when you have them in your program, the drills that you'll do daily, they can really grow quickly, So I mean, there's great players everywhere. But yeah, I can see a little bit of difference when I sort of just watch. If I watch 10 Texas middle infielders and 10 Ohio middle infielders, and then you remember that Barry Larkin and some of these great ones are actually, they're Ohio kids too. They're from Ohio, so there's great players all the time. So we just need to make sure we're finding them.
So, Coach, as Sonny has accounted in our pages, and as anyone can tell when they read your bio at ohiostatebuckeyes.com, you've been a lot of places that have played winning baseball, and I'm sure you had plenty of opportunities to step out and run your own ship before, and this is the one that you chose to finally do that. What was it about this opportunity that made you say, I'm ready to leave TCU, I'm ready to put my own stamp on a program?
Yeah, I've sort of said it before. I just from afar, the brand of Ohio State. I grew up, watching Archie Griffin and Art Schlichter and Tom Cousineau and all the great Ohio State football players. So I always liked the name. The brand was so strong. I'd been out here in '99 to see a super regional against Cal State Fullerton and all my buddies that were coaching there. So I just, I was there in the most special, crowd that they've ever had for that weekend. So that wasn't what it's like all the time, but it showed that what it could happen. My club in '92 at LSU had faced Ohio State and beat them to get to Omaha. And that was a great club. Unfortunately, they had to play us, and we were a really good club. And I'm sure that club could have been a World Series team. And obviously a '99 team could have been a World Series team. So Coach Todd had some bad breaks. They happened to play Fullerton twice. That's sometimes when it comes down, you're getting bad breaks. So I just, from afar, and I just had always watched it and thought, man, they win every third or fourth year, and every time, so you just said it's never been broken. This baseball program's never been broken. It just hasn't sustained greatness like it can, and so I just from afar always thought, man, if I ever could have that opportunity, boy, what a special place, I believe. And I'd been to Columbus, and everybody had always raved to me about anybody that had played for the Columbus Clippers or anybody that had driven through Columbus, and I just would never hear anybody ever talk badly about Columbus. I just thought, no, what a special place. and I'm a really faith-based guy, and God's always had a plan for me, and I really believe that this was the right time, and I'm the right guy to be able to do some special things here. And then I was able to bring in just a tremendous coaching staff, and again, the kids in the program are neat, and we're just gonna attack it every day. I'm not very articulate. I don't have this grand plan that I can talk to you about. And you sort of just got to come out and watch the way we go about our work daily. And we try to, stack good days, stack days, stack days, stack days. And really it's as simple as that. You can't look too far ahead. And I'm worried about tomorrow's 1 o'clock hitting group and get ready to have fun with those guys.
Bruce, you had an outstanding question, and we talked about Coach before we came on tonight about comparing football Saturdays at TCU. Talk about that, Bruce, with him, how you compare that kind of buzz at Ohio State this week as to what it would be like at TCU.
Well, I know Coach Patterson did a great job at TCU, and I know there's a ton of pride in the Frogs, but I just kind of wonder more so my question was about the buzz in and on campus. This is obviously a week where Ohio State's playing Notre Dame, 2 top 5 teams. I'm not sure it gets a whole lot bigger than a Saturday night in Ohio Stadium, even for Ohio State. But just what you sense of the similarities in the two programs in terms of how they kind of campus kind of comes alive for an event like this, and how you can use that to attract some of those kids that you say are coming in for a recruiting weekend.
Well, it's overwhelming to me because we're talking about recruiting every day right now, and we got our official visits, and I'm just overwhelmed with the fact is people have scared me to death. Like, I'm wondering how the heck we're going to get our players just to our baseball office on Saturday morning, and I'm worried about the traffic, and then we're trying to find out from people, hey, how are we going to get people on? And so I'm just scared to death that we can't get our guys on campus. So I can't wait for the day. I know it's going to be awesome, but I'm worried about then if we finally can get to the field, how the heck do we get over to the field when we walk over over the bridge right there? So I'm so overwhelmed to really see what it looks like now. And then I'm excited to see. Now you got to remember, I've been to 4 SEC schools, University of Tennessee with the 110 and the days when I was there my first time. It doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The difference is, nowadays, Tennessee doesn't know they're going to win every day, where Ohio State believes they're going to win every day. But you know what I mean? And being at Auburn, Ole Miss is more of obviously a smaller SEC school, especially when I was there. I was there at SC when Pete Carroll was going really good, the Coliseum right there. And you're going to have to be undefeated to try to almost fill that place at the Coliseum. You know what I mean? So I've been at places, but I just know that this place is even going to be more special. And I just can't wait to see it, but I really can't put my arms around what it's going to look like. How do we travel? But I'm super excited, and it's a little embarrassing when you're talking to recruits like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? And I'm saying, I have no idea. We're going to try to learn on the fly. We've got all brand new staff. We've got one coach that's from the University of Texas who thinks they play football, but they don't really play football. TCU's 7-3 in their last 10 games, but who was counting on that? And then we have Andrew C., who's from Clemson. So that was actually my favorite football team because of Brent Venables, their defensive coordinator, who's now the University of Oklahoma head coach. So I've been a big Clemson fan and following every game that Brent's played for his last 20 years since he was with me at the University of Oklahoma. So Clemson, I've really followed closely. So we've all been at different places. TCU is I could calm the guy driving into the baseball field. Hey, I'm a coach here. He left me park where I want. Jump into my golf cart. Then we could just drive right into the stadium. People would wave and let me do whatever I wanted. This isn't going to happen here. You know what I mean? So I just can't wait to see it. I can't wait to watch the team. So it's going to be an amazing. This will be a weekend that I'll never forget. And if we can be 3 for 3, or the number of recruits coming in, if we can be perfect and get all the recruits we need, then it'll be a really special weekend for me.
You mentioned your staff, and I've met Damon Lessler, a very impressive young man. Andrew C. I had a little bit of time with him to talk pitching, and I think we're going to hook up here in the next couple of weeks and talk some more about that. But you've got now 3 weeks and counting till that first day of fall practice. I think you told me that you're going to roll out the balls and bats on the 23rd of September. Very good question to ask. What are you going to expect of them on the first day of fall practice? Because a lot of these kids you're meeting and talking to, and as you said to me back a month or so ago, I'm going to look them in the eye for the first time. And conversely, what do you think they're going to expect to see and hear from you face to face for the first time on September the 23rd?
Well, so we already started our skill hours last week. So we've already been into all of our meetings. We started on the field. There's different rules. We get 4 hours with each player. And so we're in our individual skill hours right now. So to me, practice has already started. The 23rd is when we have our first team practice, and we'll scrimmage on that 23rd. But it's already started, and they've been awesome. All I wanted from them is total buy-in. I don't have time for them to wait 2 weeks to buy in, and I don't have time to have them wait 2 weeks for me to buy into them. I bought into them. They bought into us. They've been awesome. They only have X amount. We do. Today was just hitting and defense. Tomorrow we'll do hitting team offense and defense. I try to do almost every practice, even our skill hours, like a game where we do all facets of the game. They're learning a lot. It's completely different to them. I'm speaking a different language. I go pretty fast. But yet in my heart, I have a lot of patience. But one of my sayings I talk to them is I'm going to treat them like the player they're going to become, not the player they are. So even though the standard is the standard. So even though we may not be as crisp and sharp as I want us to be, there's no excuses. I don't care if it's our very first day doing this certain drill. We need to be great at it. But in my heart, I have patience. I know it's going to take time. So that's happened. I've looked them in the eye. They've looked me in the eye, and I love what I see because of the kind of kids they are, and they have fully bought in. They're super excited. And I challenged them at the beginning with some of the meetings and said, how could you not be willing to make some changes? I mean, you haven't had the taste of victory as much as you'd like. And we got a lot of older guys. This is their last go. This is their last chance. And I had talked to those guys, during the summer and told them they need to change the way they think and be prepared for, although you think you're prepared, you'll have no idea what's going to be like, but they haven't batted an eye. They've been ready. They're ready to go. It's just a neat group. And again, I actually anticipated that. I've met enough Midwest kids to know how special they are and be around them. And then I got to meet this group. And then, then when you get to talk to them a little bit about why'd you stay? Why would you, Coach Lees, why didn't you, you're a good player, say as a position player, you're a heck of a player. Why didn't you go in the portal? There's a lot of schools that would have loved to have you, and they love this university so much. And that made me know that I knew I made the right decision because I knew this place was a special place. So that validated what I had thought, that this is a very special place. But I want them to want to be because it's a special baseball program that they know they got a chance to win at a high level, and I don't know how many of them actually chose Ohio State because they wanted to win a Big Ten championship. I think they chose it because it was a great school. And I think the staff they had previously, they really liked because obviously I think they were really good people and treated them well and they enjoyed what they were doing. You know what I mean? But I don't think their expectations were real high. So, and I'm just speaking, maybe I'm over speaking what I, probably saying things like I do sometimes that I shouldn't. I just, there's nothing in the facility talks about Omaha. There's no pictures. There's no signs. There's nothing to really give you a roadmap to tell where you're going. So that's part of our graphics, although it's taken longer than I hoped, that some of the graphics will go in the locker room and the cages. And I need them to see what it looks like. You know what I mean? Like you should come to the ballpark every day looking at things saying, hey, that's our goal. That's where we're going. And there was none of that. You know what I mean? So that to me made me think a little bit that obviously I don't think they were bold enough to ever talk about that. And maybe I'm just stupid enough to talk about that. But that's the way I think. When I wake up, I think about Omaha. You know what I mean? Like that's why I wake up in the morning to do what I do. I mean, and again, we gotta get into a regional before we can worry about Omaha. So I'm putting the cart way before the horse. So,
Bob, the final question I got for you just popped up here on my phone. Bob from Portsmouth, Ohio wants to know how your fungo and batting practice pitching skills are.
Yeah, I don't need to talk about myself very much. So let's just put it this way. I threw 2 rounds today, and I think I threw a ball.
How about the fungo skills?
Yeah, they go where I want them. It doesn't look very pretty, but it gets to where I want to. So, yeah, tell him that if we're worried about that, then we're already in Omaha. I got a lot more other things to worry about than my BP and my fungo.
You heard it from the coach. All right, Bruce.
Well, Coach, thanks so much for your time tonight. We really appreciate it, and we wish you well. We follow you home and road. I think we're the only entity that does, and you have a very loyal fan and follower in Sonny Folks, and so that's why Press Pros is wherever the Buckeyes are, and we're excited about the future under your direction.
And we're super blessed to have you guys. And Sonny, you mean the world to this program, and thank goodness you're here, and I can't wait to make you proud one day.
Well, Coach, I appreciate it. To say what Bruce did, I appreciate your giving us the time because I know you go 1,000 miles a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And for you to take the time and give us 20 minutes tonight and talk to a lot of people. I know there's a lot of people who either watch this live tonight or are going to watch it on the tape on Twitter and Facebook for the rest of the week. And so you did a great job, a lot of energy. And I know the kids are going to pick up on that and try to match that with their own. So I think you've got good things ahead of you, and I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. Thanks so much, guys.
All right.
Thank you, Coach. There you go. Bill Mosiello, and he was very kind with his time tonight, and we certainly do appreciate that very, very much. And wow, September 23rd will be here before you know it. And I think it's interesting. I felt kind of like when he came in, he was maybe a little bit more candid with some of the challenges because, you can't be where they were in walks and errors and stuff like that. That's a lot to overcome. But, now he's trying to make the guys believe. So I understand the shift in maybe how he talks about his guys. And I'm sure that's authentic in terms of he's met them and he realizes that they're excited about turning things around. Last year wasn't a fun year for them.
Well, I've had probably 24 people ask me to compare him to Greg Beals, because over the last 2 months, Bill and I have spent 4 or 5 days together, played together a lot of time at the golf benefit that you were at on August 1st. Mm-hmm. And I would compare him this way. He says he's a talker. He is. I think every talker has to back that up. I'm sure he knows how to do that because he's been at it a long time, and you can't coach at the places he's been at Mississippi, at Tennessee, at Southern Cal, at Oklahoma, at Auburn, places like that. You can't be there unless you can't. You got to walk the walk. You can't just talk the talk. You got to walk the walk. Mm-hmm. But I think his energy is infectious, and I think that's going to pervade the clubhouse over there. He's a different personality than Greg Beals. Greg Beals is a fine fundamental baseball coach, high character guy. Talked about the blueprint and the kind of people that they wanted a process of developing young men at Ohio State. There's lots of ways to get at doing that, and I think these two guys are diametrically different when it comes to personality. But I know they both want to win, and I don't think it's going to take them very long in that clubhouse at Ohio State at Bill Davis Stadium for them to figure out, this is not high school anymore. There's nothing that is awarded. You don't inherit anything. You have to earn, first of all, your job. Secondly, the trust that those coaches have to have in you to put you out there every day and to get to Omaha or to a regional first, as he correctly pointed out. This is a long, hard road because every one of those young men in the back of their mind think they can play at the next level. And if they don't think they could play at the next level, they don't belong at Ohio State. So I think this guy has got the personality. I think he's got the energy. He certainly has the pedigree. And he's got an outstanding staff around him with Andrew C. and Sean and Damon Lesler. And I haven't met the rest of his staff yet. But he's surrounded himself with some good people. And all you got to do now is go out and do it.
Absolutely right. Speaking of getting it done, do you have thoughts on this week's MAC openers? We'll have, we will be spotlighting the St. Henry at Anna game. And we did have one other game we didn't talk about, the Saturday game, New Bremen all over Lehman. There wasn't much to talk about in that one.
It's 41-0 at halftime.
Yeah. But the highlight of the MAC schedule to me this week looks like St. Henry at Anna in terms of the most competitive game. I know Minster got to 1-1, but they're going to Marion Local. That's very difficult. New Bremen at Parkway. I'm not sure what Parkway has, but New Bremen, from what we know of them, as long as they have David Homan, they're going to have a chance. We covered Coldwater and Marcel Blasingame. I would expect them to start the league with a win at Fort Recovery. I'm not trying to steal your picks page away from you, but that's what I anticipate. And then Delphus St. John at Versailles, and I would think, if Versailles can win a tight one against Fort Loramie, they can probably take care of Delphus at Whole Field.
I think the game that's most compelling out of the MAC is the St. Henry Anna game. And I know a lot of people scratch their head and say, well, why that one? I think here's two teams that have a lot to prove. I think it's a program that have both been on top in the past. In fact, 3 years ago in 2019, Anna won the Division VI state championship came out of nowhere there under Nick Marino after a couple of years, and had a great senior class. Bart Bixler at quarterback, and just ran the table after losing. I think they had one loss in the regular season, but I think since that time, you can't redshirt high school kids, and I think both of these programs really feel like their season, they have to prove something within on Friday night on the opening game. St. Henry certainly needs to prove that they can play two good halves of football. They played very well getting off the other night in the first half against Archbold, and they knew that Archbold was a good football team coming in there from Northwest Ohio, and then kind of self-destructed a little bit in the second half. Didn't go out and do sound football things. So they got to put two good halves together. They certainly want to there's a lot of incentive here, motivation to get off to a good league start. And as a team that I think, and I wrote about this in the summer a bit when I said that I think that the talent there and the expectation from within is something that, you got to learn to win. You got to prove to yourself that you are good enough to win. It's just like Bill Mosiello has talked about, what kids at Ohio State have to learn now over the next 6 months before the season starts. And I think that's what I'm sure they were disappointed by what happened to them at Brookville the other night. Mm-hmm. And so I think they got to come back from that. This is a good challenge for them with St. Henry coming in, a team that's, one of the blue bloods of that league. So if they can come in and put 4 good quarters of football together, they've got some talent. They're well coached with Nick Marino, as I said. And I just think it's two teams that have a lot to prove. And that one night is their shot to get off to a good start in the league and answer some questions that they have about themselves and people like us may have about them as well.
Now, we have a Thursday game this week. Milton's coming back after their nice win at Valley View. They're playing Oakwood at home on Thursday night, and then the rest of the games in the TRC will be played on the conventional Friday night. Brookville is at Bethel, Northridge at Carlisle, Miami East at Northwestern, Indian Lake at Riverside, Middletown Madison at Troy Christian, and Lehman is at Waynesfield Goshen. So we've got non-league action in the TRC, and an interesting anomaly, there's your word of the day, kids, is Milton's playing on Thursday night. Is that TV related?
It is TV related. I think it's WRGT or channel, it used to be channel 45. I don't know what channel it is anymore, but they've done this for several years. It's a neat opportunity for the kids to be on TV. It usually draws a pretty good crowd. And I know it's going to draw a good crowd on Thursday night because Oakwood's the only team that beat Milton last year in the regular season. So there will be a little revenge factor going on that. But, boy, you don't hear a lot about Milton football anymore when you compare it to Pickwind, Troy, and Tip City and some of the bigger teams up and down 75. And Tip and Milton used to have a great rivalry. They played every year, and it was dog eat dog, and they suspended that a few years ago. So that has taken a little bit of the luster away from the Milton program as far as media attention and I think just general recognition by people in Miami County. But there's no better place than Memorial Stadium, their Memorial Stadium, to watch football. They're going to pack the place. They're loud. They're proud. They're very enthusiastic, and they got a heck of a good football team. They got 18 returning seniors this year, outstanding quarterback, outstanding wide receiver, and Nate Mortar and Blake Broomball and Michael Elam. You know these kids because you've seen them play and you've covered them. Yep. And so there'll be a lot of motivation there to play Oakwood. And quite frankly, this might be the best challenge they have in that league until they play Riverside later in the year or somebody like that. So they're definitely a playoff team. They've slipped down to Division V this year, where I think they should have been for several years. They're going to be a handful. They're not going to be an easy out for anyone at any point of the season. And if they get through healthy to the playoffs in the postseason, I really like their chances to make an extended run.
We really still are not into the meat of the OCC schedule, although we have some interesting OCC matchups involving some teams that people have obviously heard of around the state of Ohio down through the years. Olentangy Liberty, and they're off to a tough start. They're 0-2. They're going to St. X. That's a lot to handle. If Pickerington Central cannot win at Elder, and they did not win. 17-7 was the final. If they can't win at Elder, then I think Liberty's going to have a hard time winning at St. X. Our friend Garen Stokes has taken his Kaufman Shamrocks to Canton McKinley on Friday night. And Northmont is headed into Hilliard to play Hilliard Davidson. And Pick Central is going to bite off another tough piece of beef jerky when they head to Wayne to take on Wayne on Friday night. And then Saturday night, former Wayne linebacker Marcus Freeman will be in Ohio Stadium leading his Notre Dame Fighting Irish against the Buckeyes.
Well, when you talk about Division I football in the OCC, it's mind-boggling because just like Bill Mosiello was talking about, the talent, the concentration of talent in those 32 teams and all those, the ones that you just mentioned there, is overwhelming when you configure the number of Division I prospects that come out of there and go on to the next level of football play. So that makes it compelling every week. It certainly makes it a surprise on a lot of weeks because that's a hard. You do your own picks page over in Columbus, and it's much more difficult for you to do that with that kind of talent than it is for me to come over here in Division 4, 5, 6, and 7, and try to do what I do on that Friday night page. So I'm always interested. I've yet to go over and write one of those games. You and I have talked about that sometime, flipping roles, and you come over here and do a MAC game over there and do one of those. I still want to do those. I'd love to see what the environment is at Upper Arlington or Dublin Kaufman or Hilliard Davidson or one of those places. I know it's outstanding, and people over there are so privileged to have that kind of competition to look forward to on Friday nights. That's Friday night lights with just a little bit brighter luster than what a lot of people are accustomed to around the state.
Yeah, well, the best game this weekend in the OCC is New Albany at Upper Arlington. Both of them are 2-0. New Albany shocked us in week 1 by hammering Marysville at Marysville. And Upper Arlington has looked pretty good. They lost a ton last year. Lost quarterback Sam Cannon. Sam Cannon was their wide receiver. They lost him. They lost their quarterback. They lost Carson Graysock, their running back. They lost a lot on defense. And this is why you have a program. Justin Buttermore's done a nice job there building a program, just like Ryan Jones at Versailles. You lose a ton of guys, but you have guys ready to step in. And, it looks like that's the same situation at New Albany. They changed coaches. They've got a new coach. He was on the staff before. They do have the benefit of having Christian Manville back in the backfield. He was a 1,000-yard rusher last year. They had 3 of them. And so he's kind of the guy they're hanging it on so far this season. But New Albany at Upper Arlington on Friday night is going to be a heck of a game, and our Steve Blackledge will be there, and we'll have that one on the site for you probably around midnight on Friday night. That's what we're shooting for. And then we left one game off our MVL schedule. We talked about Troy and Piqua, but I believe Tip has Butler at home on Friday night.
Yeah, Tip and Butler are at home. That's an old rivalry. Not so much a rivalry, but it's an old series that goes way back to Steve Pelfrey and Charlie Burbacher. The first time he coached there as the head coach at Tip City, always fun because they're 5 miles apart. A lot of families intermix their cousins and so forth that go to the 2 schools and compete. So that's a lot of fun. And, even when Tip was a much smaller school than what they are now, they were a very tough out for Steve Pelfrey when he was coaching there. And he had some of the great talent that he had 15, 20 years ago at Vandalia Butler. So that's always a lot of fun. That game draws a good crowd, and it's usually very competitive and some very interesting fourth quarters over the years.
And would that not be the return of young Spencer Wells to Miami County? The coach at Butler? Not Spencer Wells, Ty Cates. Yeah.
Ty Cates, who was at Covington a couple of years ago. This is his.
Sorry, Laramie fans. I know Spencer didn't really jump ship on you there. Sorry.
Ty left Covington last year, took the Butler job, has been very popularly received there, and has got a good culture of kids. They've got numbers. They're in the 80s there with helmets and pads. So he thinks that in a couple of years, you got to play to get better. And it's been a young program. They've been through the down part of the cycle for a few years, like everybody does. And he feels like they're on the rise now. And he's got some talent, and you got to develop that talent and give him a chance to learn to win.
All right, my friend, you had the Reader Speaks column on the site today. Is there anything you'd like to cite from that or other correspondence with our loyal readers?
The only thing I'm going to say about, there was one particular letter, and I don't have it here in front of me, and I won't read it to you or go into it, but there was a young man, or I don't know if he's young or not, but a person from Northeast Ohio took the time to write to us and was very complimentary of an article that we posted better than a month ago about Tim Goodwin and Marion Local and the culture there, and what it's like to walk in Tim Goodwin's shoes. And this individual wrote a very good response to that article, and we thank him for taking the time to send it to us. We posted it today, and I've heard from some of the people in the MAC conference, and they appreciated, just the fact of somebody from Lake County, Ohio, who is obviously watching and paying attention to what the Midwest Athletic Conference is doing. In particular, it's hard to not pay attention to 12 titles in 23 years at Marion Local under Tim Goodwin. So an outstanding letter. And if you want to get something, maybe give you a lump in your throat to make you feel good about humanity, well, I take a moment and read that. It's well worth your time.
Very good. Well, with that, it looks like right now we'll be covering New Albany at Upper Arlington. We'll be covering Piqua and Troy. We'll be covering St. Henry and Anna. And we are still pondering some of the other games that we might cover. But we'll have those three covered for you for sure. And we'll, of course, have Oakwood at Milton Union on Thursday night covered as well.
Could be a big surprise at Piqua. You never know when those two teams, Piqua and Troy, get together. I hate cliches, but that one comes about as close to being true as any that I've ever heard, because I have been to some Piqua Troy games that you thought there ain't no way that one team's going to lose another tonight, and they come out and beat that team. A lot of pride in those two programs over the years. You've been there. Well, I don't know if you were there with Conard and all that succession of coaches. Well, you weren't there before.
No, I was not. I was there from 1983 through 1986.
All right, so your time there was all Steve Nolan, but I mean, I go back to Jim Conard and Barry Blackstone and some of the people that have coached there and made that rivalry what it is, and nobody's made it any better and any bigger than what Steve Nolan and Bill Neese have. So it's always a fun night, and you never know what to expect when you get there.
I will say that I do not think that game will be close, nor do I think the Ohio State Notre Dame game will be close. I know, this is something a lot of people think is going to be a great game between Ohio State and Notre Dame. I do not think it'll be a close game. I expect Ohio State to cover the 17.5 spread, and it wouldn't surprise me if they cover that by halftime. And you know that I am not someone who sees scarlet stars through my glasses, but I just look at the skill position talent Ohio State has and the guy who's calling the plays and the way that stadium is going to be hyped up on a Saturday night. And that is a lot for Notre Dame to chew in Marcus Freeman's first game as a head football coach. I don't think anything prepares you to play in that kind of an environment, even if you are an experienced coach. And if it's your first game as a head coach, not happening.
Well, there's going to be a lot of pressure on Marcus Freeman to come out in that particular game and show that he belongs there on the sidelines, and he can prepare for that kind of challenge and on national TV and with that much observation nationwide. So I think that's probably more important than the fact of winning the game for him. I got to come out here and not be embarrassed. I got to show that I have this team ready to play, compete, and be in the mix when it gets at the end of 12 games of the regular season. They talk about those 4 playoff teams. For Ohio State, I'm like you. I think the skill positions, I'm almost willing to guarantee they're going to score 42 points.
Yep.
Because I just don't think any defense that I've read about or that I know anything about from certainly watching or reading or observing the media has got the kind of defense that can go out and shut down that many weapons. Now, defensively, your guess is as good as mine. I talked to Mark Snyder, our writer, our beat guy that covers the team. He swears that Jim Knowles thinks that this is an awesome defense, and it is 100% turnaround from what it was last year. We're going to know soon enough, and Friday night or Saturday night we're going to get to see. So I think they're going to score. Still remains to prove to me that they can keep other people out of the end zone.
Agreed. We will see. So we'll cover that one. We'll have that one for you Saturday night as well. It's a busy weekend for us, it's Labor Day weekend, but we're looking forward to it. And it all starts with, first of all, the picks that will be coming in and posted on, you post your MAC picks and your TRC picks and your MVL picks on Friday?
Friday night. No, on Thursday night about between 9 and 10 o'clock.
Okay. Well, you'll be engaged at that hour on Thursday night. You'll be in West Milton at that particular time. So will you be posting before kickoff or later after you get home?
Well, on the new website, if you notice, there's a feature there called Auto Publish, where you can set it on timer, and voila, it'll publish when you say to publish it.
Very good. All right. And we'll have the OCC picks as well. And we're just looking forward to a great weekend. We appreciate you guys catching on to the fact that it is football season. We saw that in our numbers over the weekend. We're very excited about that. Looking forward to a great year. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Thanks to Coach Bill Mosiello, the Ohio State baseball coach, for joining us.
He was good.
He was very good, very passionate, as you said he would be. And we appreciate everybody's time tonight. So we hope you have a great rest of your week. We'll see you out and about at the games you care about. And we thank you for being fans of PressProsMagazine.com.
Have fun.